Repeating movement strokes to get around a long document can be quite tedious, but thanks to Josh Grams, the same person who created StenoJig, you can modify your Steno keyboard's firmware to implement double tap chord repeat as well as first up chord send. See how I am only double tapping holding a stroke, and yet the translation is repeated over and over. It is actually repeated at 4 times the original speed I double tapped the stroke. This is great for movement keys. All I'm doing here is double tapping the stroke for arrow left, and the cursor is whizzing all the way to the left. Also, if I only tap one part of a chord, the entire chord is sent to Plover. This is great if you only want to move the cursor a few characters over here and there. This is called first up chord send. The first key to go up sends the entire chord to Plover. If you want this functionality, head over to Josh Grams' Steno firmware repository on GitHub. There are firmware files for the EcoSteno, the Uni, the Splitography, and the Georgie. There are many different variants you can get. Personally, I don't need the first up chord send functionality, so I only get the file for double tap chord repeat. Of course, you could have the first up chord send by itself, or both of them together. Once you've selected the file you want, download it like so. Now we can proceed with modifying our Steno keyboard's firmware. Download QMK Toolbox and install it. Afterwards, connect your keyboard to your computer and switch your board into bootloader mode. The different boards have different ways of initiating bootloader mode, but I only know how to do this on the Georgie and the Splitography. On the Georgie, there is a tiny switch you have to press, while on the Splitography, there is a tiny button on the underside of the PCB, which, again, you have to press. Once the board has been switched into bootloader mode, you should see a confirmation in QMK Toolbox. Finally, select the file you downloaded earlier and flash it. This should take a few seconds. Do not disconnect your keyboard during this process. Unplug and replug your keyboard and configure Plover as normal. You should now be able to test out this new functionality you've just added to your keyboard. If you dislike the new behavior, simply go to the repository and download a new file, then repeat the same flashing process. There are also default firmware files in case you want to revert back to the original stock behavior. That's all from me, and I hope you found this video helpful.